Hey everyone, happy Thursday. So the team, the Penguins, of course, they just did not have it tonight against the Maple Leafs. A 4-1 loss breaks their 4-game losing streak. The Penguins have now lost their second game in their last 15 games in regulation. Just a ridiculous streak that this team has been on. I have a full game recap coming up right after this job. I will say, though, probably won't be a lot of positives to take out of this one, but we're still going to recap this game and then maybe do a little bit of a preview going into Sunday's game against the Carolina Hurricanes. It's coming up right after this.
You're Locked On Penguins, your daily podcast on the Pittsburgh Penguins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. You can also follow the show's Twitter at @LO_Penguins. And of course, thank you all so much for making this your first listen of the day. So Penguins, they fall 4-1 to the Maple Leafs tonight. And I think the biggest thing I can take away from this, starting off today's episode, this is kind of like, you're back when you were a kid or something like that, you're going through all your school supplies and all your school papers. And like, okay, maybe I'll keep this for, safekeeping to show my kids one day. And, you see some other stuff. I'm kind of throw this in the trash. This is one of those moments where the Penguins just need to throw this in the garbage. There was really nothing good about this performance. They started out the game really poorly. 21 seconds in, Austin Matthews scores. I mean, I know he's one of the best goal scorers in the league, but that was just a really bad defensive breakdown. Not even a minute in, hell, not even 30 seconds into the game. And then they started to play well a little bit after that, but it was just a really sloppy performance, I thought. And I'll get to the underlying numbers in just a sec, but, I felt like they weren't completing the passes that I normally see them make. Their forecheck was not there. They definitely did not pass the vibe check, to say the least, tonight. That was just, it was nothing good was happening on that. The power play was horrendous. That was probably the worst the power play has looked, except for that last chance that they had. I believe it was right before the second intermission. They actually had a little bit of a pulse. They got some pretty good high danger chances on Jack Campbell. He was obviously fantastic in this one. But other than that, I thought the power play looked just as bad as it did from early on in the season. When the Penguins badly needed a goal to get back in the game, they couldn't get one just because, the zone entries were bad. They weren't winning the puck battles. They weren't getting the pucks on net. And, they weren't setting it up. And at the end of the day, that's part of the reason why this team lost. But, this is the kind of game where, every team has a game like this where you don't have it. And that's fine. It's an 82-game season. The Penguins are in first place. As I said in my opening little monologue, this is only their second regulation loss in their last 15 games. This team is still really good. I'm not going to sit here and, go overreaction Thursday for you all or anything like that. I mean, I know how good this team is. I know the schedule down the stretch is really tough. They're going to have to play a lot better than this if they want to clinch home ice in the playoffs. And I think they will. I mean, obviously this is where Mike Sullivan makes his big bucks, right? He always knows how to make adjustments. And at the end of the day, I'm sure he will. They have a few days off going into Sunday's game against Carolina. They don't play Friday or Saturday. This team, I think, will be fine. It's just, Toronto played well. They were playing pretty good coming into it. Jack Campbell, I know, was up and down, but, for this one, he gave them a Vezina caliber performance, and he has been one of the best goaltenders in hockey this year. It's no coincidence that, he's also top 5 in goals saved above expected. He has one of the best save percentages in hockey right up there with Tristan Jarry. The Penguins got the elite version of him tonight. The only one that got past him was an Evgeny Malkin rebound goal that, Campbell really had no chance on. He was making some damn good saves throughout that game. The Penguins in the third period had 9 of the 10 high danger chances. So they were coming at him a little bit more because the team started to wake up a little bit more when they were down 3-0. But, Campbell was still shutting the door just as he did in the first and second period. I also will say this, it goes along with, the sloppy play. I thought the defensive zone coverage was pretty piss poor tonight. I did not like the way anyone on the blue line was defending. Matheson, Ruedel, Pettersson, Marino. And I'll say this was probably the worst game I think I've ever seen Kris Letang play in the last couple years. This is going to be one where he wants to throw the tape in the trash, and rightfully so. He was caught out of position on 2 of Toronto's 4 goals. The last one, just really did not know what he was doing defensively there. He was just kind of caught flat-footed. The short-handed chance when the Penguins were on the power play, and that was a very rare occurrence because the Penguins don't give up short-handed goals. They're one of the league leaders with some of the least short-handed goals allowed this season, but trying to force a pass, and then that leads to basically a breakaway, and then Jari has no chances because heck of a move, but it's just he'll be fine. He's been at a Norris caliber level this entire season. Even Sidney Crosby has these kind of games once in a while. I'm not too concerned. It's just I'm sure he's going to, when he speaks to the media next, Kris Letang, that is, I'm sure he's going to obviously take responsibility for it and, vow to be better and all that stuff. And I know he will because he's been playing at such a high level this year. But I just wanted to point out his deficiencies in this game. If I'm going to say how great he's been, I'm also going to criticize him. I'm not going to just, be a homer here and say, oh my God, he was okay in this game. He didn't really do anything. No, if you've been listening to this podcast for, even just one episode or, 10 or 20, that I'm going to, keep it real with you all and, be as objective as I can because, that's how I roll with this. So I have no problem criticizing him. He was bad and he needs to be a lot better moving forward. Goaltending wise, Tristan did what he could. I really can't blame him for any of the 4 goals against just because they were just great chances. I mean, Austin Matthews on a breakaway, he has such a quick release that it's so hard, I think, for any goalie to track that shot. I mean, I don't even think if you put a prime Henrik Lundqvist in there, I'm not even sure he stops that release just because of how fast it was. And, he had a good angle on Tristan. That's a goal scorer shot. And we all know how great Austin is. At scoring goals in NHL. He's one of the 5 best pure goal scorers in the league. You give him that chance, he's going to bury that at least 9 out of 10 times. And of course, that was one of them. The other one, the net went off its moorings. That's a good goal. Elliot Friedman was talking about that in one of the intermissions. Another one was basically it was the shorthanded chance where he kind of got deked a little bit, but he didn't have help. I mean, at the end of the day, what else can he do? He's still playing fine. He didn't give up any softies or anything. He was probably one of the lone bright spots, I think, for the Penguins in this one. So I'm not really going to criticize him there that much. Underlying numbers wise for the Penguins, it's kind of a mixed bag. So the Leafs had 55.2% of the shot attempts tonight per natural stat trick at 5v5. Scoring chances, the Penguins were 50-50. But in high danger, they led 14-6. And that's mainly due to the third period again, where they had 9 high danger chances compared to 1 for Toronto. The 1 high danger chance that the Leafs did have in the back of the net, that was Michael Bunting's goal. And that's just an awesome pass, by the way, from Matthews. You probably will not see a better pass. I should rephrase that. You won't see many better passes than that for the rest of the season. That was just a ridiculous play by Matthews to get to Bunting. And he's having a pretty good year for Toronto. But, getting back to those numbers, so the Penguins led in high danger chances. They also led in expected goals for 62.4% of the expected goals rate. In terms of expected goals for numbers wise, 2.7 for the Penguins compared to 1.6 for the Leafs. So the numbers definitely tell a bit of the story, but if you watch the game, with the eye test and stuff, you can see that the Penguins giving up too many odd man rushes, really sloppy in the defensive zone. They started out playing piss poor, turned it on a little bit, but then, the second period, the power play was not good. The penalty kill was, I guess, but, it's definitely interesting how, the numbers tell one side where it looks like, oh, wow, like the high danger chances, they played good there. Oh, they had more of the expected goals for. That means the Penguins must have gotten goalied or something. No, Jack Campbell was really good, but I'll also say the Penguins kind of dug their own grave with how poor defensively they were. But that wraps up this first segment of the episode tonight. Coming up in the next segment, we're just going to go into a couple of other things surrounding this game. We're going to break down Evgeny Malkin's goal a little bit. Also talk about his new line and why I want to see more of it moving forward. And, also, of course, get touch on the Rodrigues captain tonight because, of course, Mike Sullivan decided to change up the lines for this one. But before we get to that, football might be over for this season, but basketball is in full steam for both pro and college hoops. From all the latest odds, totals, player performance props to where the next fired coach is going to land, BetOnline.net is the number one spot for all of your sports betting needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for all of your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. That is BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, welcome back to this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. Also follow the show's Twitter at LO_Penguins. So I did like one of the things I guess I should like coming out of this game. I know there's not going to be many positives, but there is one here. Really enjoyed the second line of Evgeny Malkin, Danton Heinen, and Jeff Carter. And I hope the Penguins continue to use that line until Teddy Blueger is ready to play. And I'll tell you why. Right, honestly, from the first couple of minutes, Carter got a really good chance on Jack Campbell. He tried to go forehand, backhand, 5-hole, but, Campbell came up with a really nice pad save. But it was the beautiful saucer pass from Heinen to Spring Carter where it's like, okay, is Kasperi Kapanen ever going to make a pass like that on that line? Probably not. Is Brock McGinn, who I have liked his game this year, don't worry. I mean, he's probably been a bit better than Brandon Tanev was last year. For the Penguins. Is he going to make that pass? No, but Heinen, he's shifty a little bit. He's an underrated playmaker. He's an underrated goal scorer. Threaded the perfect saucer pass to Carter to get that chance. And, unfortunately for Jeff, it didn't go in, but it's like, okay, there's the start there. Malkin was able to score on the rebound with Jack Campbell. And it's just a nice display of him crashing the net. I mean, we see him do it at times. It probably doesn't happen as much as I would like it to, but it's still great that he is going to the net. Again, at times, and he's finishing his chances, and he's playing really well right now. I've liked his game since he's come back. He's at a point per game level, but the biggest thing that I think a lot of fans and just media alike, including me, have been wishing for is just to surround him with two good and capable line mates, because it's been a huge problem, I think, for the Penguins this year. This team does not have many issues, but that one is definitely up there. And it's mainly just because, Kapanen has not been good. Rodrigues, he had a great start, but he also has not been good as of late. Brock McGinn, for as much as I like him, he's a great player, really a nice dude. Of course, he came on the podcast this past summer. He's not suited to play in a top six role. He is much better suited for a third line role, checking line on the fourth line with Aston Reese and Blueger whenever Teddy comes back. I'm sure they're going to reunite that line, and I would be all in favor of that, obviously, because of how great the underlying numbers were before Blueger got hurt. But, it's not, what's the word I'm looking for, I think? It's not good if he's in your top six when most of your team is healthy. And I know Jason's going to be out for a while. He usually has decent chemistry with Evgeny Malkin. And even though hasn't been scoring a lot, but he still can make some pretty good passes here and there. And I think Geno enjoyed playing with him. But, Geno just hasn't had those consistent line mates. But, I really liked what I saw from Heinen and Carter tonight. If I can actually check out Natural Stat Trick, real quick, Penguins shift report tonight. If I can go down here for Heinen. So, Penguins forward lines. Excuse me. So this was their best line at even strength. I'm going to read you the numbers right here. The Heinen, Malkin, Carter line, 70% of the shot attempts at 5v5. They also had, one goal for, no goals against, expected goals for 1.17, expected goals against 0.23. They had an 83.6 expected goals rate. They were also on the ice for 77% of the scoring chances for. By far, again, the best line for Pittsburgh tonight. That line deserves another look or two. I mean, who else are you going to put up there? Kapanen, he struggled again tonight as well. I'm going to get to that in a couple of minutes. But, the early returns on it, and they played 10:37 of 5v5 ice time tonight. That was the second most, of course, to the Gensel Crosby Russ line, which had 66% of the shot attempts at even strength. They also had 0.58 expected goals for, 54% of the scoring chances for. So that was the Penguins' second best line, and then the other two were caved in. Of course, I'm going to get to Kapanen and Rodrigues in just a sec. But, I know some people kind of have reservations about Carter playing wing compared to center just because Carter's been a good center. But, I saw what Jeff said to the media the other day and basically said he's fine with it. And, he's been good on the wing, going back to his days in Philadelphia, Los Angeles. This is fine until Blueger comes back, because I'm sure once Teddy comes back, they'll be putting Carter right back at center. Heck, when Zucker comes back, I think he will be in the lineup. And then, even if Carter is somehow not moved back to center when Blueger comes back, I think when Zucker comes back, whenever that is, he will 100% be moved back to center. But it's never a bad idea, to change something up. I know the team had won 4 straight going into this one, but I think, any self-respecting fan of this team could watch the games and realize, oh, wow, Geno's line has just been, getting caved in almost every shift. And, it had obviously a lot to do with his line mates, because Brock McGinn's not getting it done and Kapanen is surely not getting it done either. And, speaking of him, it was another struggle fest for him tonight. Came into the zone countless times and just continues to button hook back, look for a pass that's not there. He's still not going back to his fundamentals of what worked last year, which was, of course, coming in with a burst of speed and firing the puck on goal, And, he was being rewarded for doing that and, just for finishing on his chances this year. I mean, it's been anything but that. And, tonight, I just said a couple minutes ago, his line was with Brock McGinn and Evan Rodrigues, who was playing center. And, that line before there's a stat here that I had from Adam Gretz. If I can find this real quick, the early returns on that line were pretty good. Actually, since the start, this is the stat from Adam Gretz. I know it was bad tonight, but coming into this game, they've played 334 minutes of 5-on-5 hockey together. The Penguins own a commanding shot share and a 19-2 actual goal advantage, including 13-1 this season. So I was perfectly fine with Sullivan trying the back. I know tonight they were on the ice for 1 goal against, no goals for. They only had 30% of the scoring chances, only 41% of the shot attempts, 0.26 expected goals for. They got caved in pretty bad. But, it's also only one game. I want to see how they do against Carolina on Sunday. But, the numbers are still mostly pretty decent. It's just, for whatever reason, Kapanen continues to look lost. And, Rodrigues, he's up there as well. I don't think he looks as lost as Kapanen, but something has definitely changed with him. And I'm still trying to figure out for you all what it is. I mean, he's still shooting it fairly often at 5v5. He's one of the best volume shooters on the team right now. I mean, A, the puck is not going in the net. And 2, I mean, I don't think he's getting as many chances as he did during the start of the season. Sure, he is getting some chances, but it's not to the degree that he was early on. But, it's definitely, I get a little bit concerning. I knew it wasn't going to continue for the rest of the season. I mean, did anyone expect that? He's still playing fine, but I think, now's the point where it's like, okay, is this going to be the Evan Rodrigues we're going to see the rest of the season? Or is the early season Evan Rodrigues going to come back and light everyone up? Or is it going to be, a mix in the middle? And I think that's probably what we're going to get at some point here. We've had opposite ends of the, the spectrum, I think, over here. So those wrap up my thoughts on the new lines tonight. The fourth line, they didn't really do anything, but, sometimes, that happens with the Penguins. I'm still a little more to get to for this episode of Locked On Penguins coming up here in the next segment. All right, welcome back to this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. Follow the show's Twitter at LO_Penguins. I will say, shout out to Leafs fans for really showing up tonight, 50% capacity for the first time in quite a while. They were playing, I believe, with no fans. So to see them, really show up and support their team, it makes me happy. Hopefully, again, we're getting, closer to the end with this, but I'm not really too sure to say the least. So the Penguins will finally get a matchup with the Carolina Hurricanes on Sunday. This will be the first of 3 meetings. And these are huge. I mean, you look at the standings right now, and I'll load them up for you on my phone. The Penguins 4 games in hand on Carolina, but the Hurricanes are only 2 points back. The Rangers won tonight. They still have 2 games in hand on the Penguins. They're 3 points back. The Capitals won tonight. They're 5 points back. The Penguins also have a game in hand on them. But with how Carolina has 4 games in hand, Pittsburgh, they gotta win this game, especially because it's at PPG Paints Arena, and if Carolina does win it, they'll probably be in the Metropolitan Division lead. I'm looking to see when they play next. Yeah, so they play Nashville on Friday, and then they travel to Pittsburgh. So if they beat Nashville at home, Carolina will overtake the Penguins for the top spot in the Metro, just because they'll have the 3 games in hand. So Penguins, they're going to have to win that game to keep pace in the Metropolitan Division. The Hurricanes are one of the best teams in hockey. They have a monster top 6 with, Teuvo Teravainen, Sebastian Aho, Vincent Trocheck, Svechnikov, Seth Jarvis, Jordan Stahl on the bottom 6, Jesper Foss, Nino Niederreiter, Jesperi Kotkaniemi, Jordan Martinook. I mean, it's deep. That's one of the best teams in hockey. The Penguins are going to have their hands full. That they can't give up the odd man rushes that they gave up against Toronto. I think, just off the top of my head, it was around 14 or 15 from what I wrote down here in my notes. So, Carolina is also a great team in transition. They have a lot of great finishers. The Penguins are going to have to really clean up defensively if they're going to win this game. Defensively, Jacob Slavin is incredible. I would kill to have him on the Penguins. I think he's probably the most underrated defenseman in hockey. Great in both the offensive and the defensive zones. Has awesome underlying numbers. He's probably not getting as much Norris love as he should this season. I know obviously Fox and Hedman and Makar and Letang and Yossi have been great, but Slavin's been right up there. He's so much fun to watch. Brady Shea with Brett Pesce. Pesce again is another player who I think is ridiculously underrated. He's great in a top 4 role. He's been banged up at times, but this is still a pretty good player. And then, old friend Ian Cole on the bottom pair, Tony DeAngelo on the top pair. Of course, he's easy to make fun of it. And I'm sure Frederik Andersen is going to get the start in this game. Andersen, he's been one of the best goalies in hockey this year. It's something that I didn't see coming just because of how banged up he's been. It's pretty crazy. He's second in the league right now, 24.9 goals saved above expected, 928 save percentage, 2.07 goals against average. Just a ridiculous season that he is having, just because of how injured he was for the Leafs last year. Just unbelievable with what he's been able to do. If we go to the underlying numbers overall for Carolina, 54% of the expected goals, 59% of the actual goals at 5v5. They have a plus 36 goal differential. They have 55% of the shot attempts every game. This is a juggernaut. This is why I would love to see these two teams go out in the playoffs, because I know how deadly Carolina is, but I also know how good Pittsburgh is. And I know that this team can play with them in a 7-game series. And we're about to find out just how, these teams match up on Sunday. And it's going to be a great matchup. Remember, it's an afternoon game. I'm just checking the time here for you all. Just double checking here. Yeah, 1:00 game on Sunday, NHL Network. So if you have ESPN Plus, I don't believe it's going to be on that. So I'm going to have to find a different streaming site for that. But Penguins back home, Carolina on Sunday. I have another episode coming up for you all on Friday. I know it wasn't the Penguins night on Thursday, but again, as I said in the beginning, this is a game. You crumble it up in a little paper, throw it in the trash. That's all you got to do. But again, thank you all so much for listening to this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I really do appreciate it. And I will be back on Friday for another episode. I'll talk to you all then.